I mentioned to Brother David the other day, I think it was Brother David, about bullies. I tell you that about bullies. I pondered over it and about bullies this past week or so, and I found out really the word bully ain't in the Bible. So y'all pray for me to bring forth a message that makes some sense. That when I was in grammar school, we had bullies. That sometimes I was a bully, I guess. But we had several times. You know how kids are; they bully one another. And what is a bully? David, what's a bully? You know what a bully is.
Somebody that offends and irritates, picks on other people, degrades them, diminishes them.
All right, I got on here that I come up with. I looked up some of it, but a bully is it's a person that's habitual or picks on weak people, and he's stronger than the others. That's a bully. Bullies can be in all kind of forms and fashions, is what I'm trying to say. But one that comes to my mind particularly was, who do you think it would be? Who do you think would come?
Jezebel.
Jezebel. Exactly. We're going to get to that last. Lord willing, that's the last one I come up with. But I thought about being a bully was when you had David and the giant. That giant was a bully. If you would turn to 1 Samuel 17th chapter and read verse 41. This is the one that came to my mind when I started really thinking about bullies, is David fought the giant. And this giant went out there for 40 days and taunted the Israel army. He was a Philistine. All right, Brother David, if you would read 1 Samuel 17, 41 through 45.
And the Philistine came on and drew near unto David, and the man that bare the shield went before him. And when the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth and ruddy, and of a fair countenance. And the Philistine said unto David, Am I a dog, that thou comest to me with staves? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. And the Philistine said to David, Come unto me, and I will give thy flesh unto the fowls of the air, and to the beasts of the field. Then said David unto the Philistine, Thou comest to me with the sword, and with spears, and with the shield, but I come to thee in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom thou hast defied. This day will the Lord deliver into mine hands, and I will smite thee, and take thine head from thee, and I will give thy carcass to the host of the Philistines this day. I will give the carcasses of the host of the Philistines this day unto the fowls of the air, and to the wild beasts of the earth, and all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel.
Verse 45. David was just a shepherd boy. Y'all remember how he was just a shepherd boy? And the Bible describes David as being ruddy, and he was a keeper of the sheep for his daddy. And Samuel one day come to Jesse, which was David's daddy. And Jesse, Samuel, go back to 1 Samuel there. Samuel went to Jesse and he wanted to get his boys to go to the army with him. Now it was fixing to be time of battle. And they were going to be warring against the Philistines, Israel was. And Jesse was come up there and he was going to pick a king. Now Saul was the king. Saul it was a time of battle, like I said. Saul was fixing to lead him to battle, but Samuel told Saul there'll be another king. Now the Ark of the Covenant was in the Philistines' hands at this time. So they went through all over to Jesse, Samuel did, and he said, the next man will be, or the next one will be the king, but you have 8 sons, and he went through all of them except for one. And that was who? David. David was out there keeping the sheep for his father, and so they brought David in before Samuel, and Samuel, they all laughed and they mocked David, and he was so little and this, that, and the other. And all of them were fixing to go to war. They had been trained warriors. And so they was all laughing and mocking about it. And they were bullies kind of, in a sense, to the brother at this moment. But Samuel said in a certain time, David's going to be the king of Israel. Well, and I could picture him out there just a scrawny kid, can't you? I think somebody said he was 17 years old. I don't know how he got that, but anyhow, he wasn't a warrior at that time for like they were warriors. But he kept the sheep and all. And his brothers eventually they left. They were 7 brothers went out to Echab, or what do you call it, in the valley. And here you have the Philistines on one side, big, great, strong army. And then you got Israel over here, and they were outnumbered tremendously. And not only that, they was outnumbered. They on the Philistine side, they had a hero called Goliath. He was 9 foot, and can you imagine 9 foot 9 inches tall? That was a big joker. Well, he was on one side. Well, the time elapsed over this, and so his brothers went on to war. They was out there back and forth arguing with one another, this, that, and the other, and they said, we got a giant on our side, and if this giant comes out and he kills y'all, then y'all will be slaves for Philistines. But if not, we'll do the other way. So here this giant is. Now here's the big bully I want to get at. He was a big 9 foot, 9 inches, 7 or 9 inches tall, big old man, and he was going to taunt him. And he said, now, if we defeat y'all, y'all gonna be our slaves from now on. Well, here's what this big giant had on when he come out. He said he had a helmet of brass, a coat mail, greaves on brass on his legs. In other words, he was covered from head to toe. And a target of brass on between his shoulders, a staff, a spear like a weaver's beam. That thing was heavy. And a spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron. So this joker, he was strong and big and bad. Now, Saul saw what was happening, and they finally agreed. Saul called him into his tent, and he said, I want to see this kid that y'all say that y'all laughing at that's going to kill this giant. He said, I want to talk to him. And they brought him to Saul, the king. Now, Saul had been having trouble. The reason he was having trouble is because of the sin in Israel. And he many times prior to this, he'd have David to play songs for him and on the harp and kind of calm him down a little bit. Saul had a temper on him, and he's very, very energetic. And David would play that harp to him before he becomes the king. And so he went on out to battle, and he said, I want to see this kid. It says to his brothers and all the army, there's no way, the way they described him, he can fight. He's not trained. But he got him in there to his tent, and he talked to him. And they was all laughing at him, and the king says, go get my armor. Well, you remember whenever Israel got the first king, he was a head taller than everybody else. And I watched a movie not long back about it, And he was a big, heavy man, Saul was, and he was a head taller than everybody else. He wasn't a baby himself. And he said, go get my armor. We're going to send David out there and let him do it. His brother said, don't do this. It'd be murder for him. They'll kill him quick. But nevertheless, David kept saying, I'll go out there in the name of the Lord. And that's what he said in that 45th verse there. He said, I come to thee in the name of the Lord of hosts. That's where David went before him at. He put that armor on, or they put it on him, and I can see old David, a little small kid now, with all that big fat Saul, and put all that armor. He couldn't even hardly hold the sword for Saul, or the shield. He said, I don't need that. I'm going to come in the name of the Lord. He said, I've done proved the armor that you give me, that God gave me. He said, I've killed a lion, I've killed a bear, and this circumcised Philistine, I'm not scared of him. He realized he put all his confidence and trust in David because he knew God, the one true and living God. Now that took a lot of faith. We learned over in the 11th chapter of Hebrews, faith is the substance of things not seen. They had never seen a kid go out in battle like that. But God blessed him. And you and I, Philippians 4:13 says we can do all things with Christ that what? Strengthens us. God strengthens us. He strengthened David. Well, David went out there to that giant, and he was taunting them for 40 days. Remember, he had taunted them, and Israel was scared to death of him. Even his brothers backed up. They tried their best to keep David off that battlefield, but he was determined to stand for the Lord. Do you and I do that? Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. But nevertheless, he went before him, and he seen this big old giant coming. And he went down into the valley. David went down into the valley, and they was facing each other. And this, you can just imagine how frightening looking that giant was. He wasn't a little bully. That's all he was. Go ahead. He was a big bully. And we've all dealt with bullies before, I think we have. At one time or another, there's been bullies in our life. You can even be a bully. But he come up on this giant, and David reached down and got 5 smooth stones. Now, he done showed his daddy how he could shoot that rock. I had this up there doing this. But he took that rock, one of those rocks, and that's all it took. He met that giant, and that giant put those big spears at him, 4 of them, I think it was. And David would duck them, and they'd stick up, and they'd come down. David slung that one stone that hit him right in the forehead and killed him. And David took his own sword and cut his head off and took him back to Israel. Now, was he a big bully? You and I can deal with bullies. And here's the way we can deal with bullies. Turn to Ephesians chapter 6. Start with verse 10. We're going to read that for you, if you would. We got a bully called Satan. Is Satan a bully? He is, isn't he? Ephesians chapter 6, verse 10 there.
Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might.
I'll stop right there. Was David a weak kid as far as man's eyes? But remember he said, you look at the one we're choosing to be king, God looks on the heart. Now, to man's eyes, we've been probably just like David's brothers. He can't do this. He's not trained, all this. But he was strong through Christ. And you and I, we are strong through Christ. We can fight off Satan. Satan is nothing but a bully. That's all he is. All right, go ahead.
Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand. Stand before, having your loins girded about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. Take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, praying always with all power and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplications of all saints. For me the utterance may be given unto me, that I may open my mouth boldly to make known the mystery of the gospel, which I am an ambassador in bonds, that therein I may speak boldly as I ought to speak. But that ye also may know my affairs and how I do. That I anxious, a beloved brother and faithful minister in the Lord, shall make known to you all things, whom I have sent unto you for the same purpose, that ye might not know our affairs, and that he might comfort your hearts.
Thanks, but Ephesians 6, start with verse 10 there, and it goes down and tells us each part of a spiritual armor that we have. We got the helmet of what? Salvation. And it comes right on down. And he names all these parts, but it's nothing that you can visually see, just like Saul had armor, a natural armor, but David had that spiritual armor. He said, I don't need all this other armor like you have. And you and I, Satan attacks us from time to time, and Satan is nothing but a bully. That's all he is. And we can fight off Satan, and if we have that spiritual warfare, going on, we can have that spiritual armor on. And if you notice, that armor doesn't have any protection on your backside. It's all you should go forward always to battle and meet any problems that Satan has or whatever head on. Don't never turn your back. Matter of fact, he tells us that we're soldiers over in Ecclesiastes, that we're soldiers, and once you become a soldier and you have this armor, there's no discharge in being a soldier and being in an army. So all these are talking about bullies, and you and I run across bullies, and I said Satan is a bully. He mocks God's people, doesn't he? He tempts people. He even tempted Jesus. The devil did. He ridicules us. He slanders us. So all these are talking about the ways that bullies act. But we can fight off these bullies. I remember seeing, y'all probably seen it on the Andy Griffin show. Little Opie, what's his name? Opie had a bully. Every time he'd come around the corner, you might have seen it, there's a bully there. And he'd taunt old Opie and get his lunch money and everything else. And he got telling Daddy about it, and Andy was a pretty wise father. And he told him, he said, don't you never pick a fight. Your daddy may have told you this too. But if they start to fight you go ahead and fight them, and you won't be bothered with them no more. Well, Opie didn't want, that big old bully is going to give several of them a black eye. Remember that? Did y'all see that? Opie went home, and his eye was black. It black, and Daddy said, what happened? He told him, and old Opie was tickled to death. He got him a black eye. But he also, that bully, never messed with him no more. Well, that's the way it is with Satan. You need to sock him in the eye one time, and he'll back off. So there's bullies out there, and every one of us can see that we're bullies. Let's go to, I'm going to have to hurry up here, but in 1 Kings chapter 21, Genesis 3, 1 through 7, and David mentioned about Jezebel. of being a bully. Now, Ahab was the king of Israel at this time, whenever we're going to read this. And go ahead and read it, Jim.
First Kings 21 what?
Chapter 21 of 1 Kings, 1 through 7.
And it came to pass after these things that Naboth the Jezreelite had a vineyard, which was in Jezreel, hard by the palace of Ahab king of Samaria. And Ahab spake unto Naboth, saying, Give me thy vineyard, that I may have it for a garden of herbs, because it is near unto my house, and I will give thee for it a better vineyard than it, for if it seem good to thee, I will give thee worth of it money. And Naboth said to Ahab, The Lord forbid it me, that I should give the inheritance of my fathers unto thee. And Ahab came into his house, heavy and displeased, because the word which Naboth the Jezreelite had spoken to him. For he had said, I will not give thee the inheritance of my fathers. And he laid him down upon his bed, and turned away his face, and would eat no bread. But Jezebel, his wife, came to him and said unto him, Why is thy spirit so sad, that thou eatest no bread? And he said unto her, Because I spake unto Naboth the Jezreelite, and said unto him, Give me thy vineyard for money, or else, if it please thee, I will give thee another vineyard for it. He answered, I will not give thee my vineyard. And Jezebel his wife said unto him, Dost thou now govern the kingdom of Israel? Arise and eat bread, and let thine heart be merry. I will give thee the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite.
Okay. Can you see where there's a bully here? That's Jezebel. Ahab was the king now of Israel. And he went out, it says, and he saw this vineyard that Naboth had inherited. And he saw this vineyard, and it looked real good. He wanted it. And he went to Naboth, and he said, I'd like to buy this vineyard from you. Or I'll give you another vineyard just better than this one. Now why? He wanted that vineyard right next door to where he was at. The king did. So he went to Ahab and he asked him about it, and Ahab says, I can't sell it. It's an inheritance. And back in those times, you got an inheritance from your father, you did not sell it. It would go to the next generation. Well, this inheritance, he said, I can't sell this vineyard. And so he went home and he started pouting. A grown king now started pouting. If you read it, he turned his head toward the wall, and as Jezebel comes along, he wouldn't eat, he wouldn't drink no water, he just sat there, his head to the wall and pouting. And I picture him curled up like a fetal state, and him supposed to be the man of Israel, over Israel, the king. And Jezebel comes along. We all know Jezebel. She was a bully. She said, what's wrong with you? And he told him the story about the vineyard. He wanted it, and he offered money, and he even offered better vineyard for it. And she said, I'll give it, David. That's my word. You want that, and I'll get it for you. She was very boastful, bully. So she got two men to send letters, and they come back and they endorsed Ahab the king's name on it. They're fraud right there. And all of that, she become a murderer. Jezebel become a murderer. She said, I'll get this vineyard for you. Well, she did get it. They had Naboth killed. They lied about it, they murdered him and killed him. And Elijah went out there and they saw him, and he told him what happened. And the Bible teaches us by her wrongdoings and by him being a bully that the dogs licked her blood, killed her, and licked her blood. But Ahab now, if you keep reading in this chapter, Ahab repented. And God spared his life, but he said the next second or third generation, I can't remember, you can read it at home. He said they'll be the one to suffer because of what you've done. But Jezebel was nothing but a bully, and she bullied, got what she wanted for her husband Ahab. I call him a wimp. That's not what he was, a wimp. Now, in asking about, can you, right quick, we won't go to them, but can you identify some more bullies that's in the Bible? Anybody? Joseph and his brothers in Genesis 37 through 35, you can read about them. They were bullies. Samson and Delilah, which one of them was a bully? Go home and read it and study it. Jesus and the Pharisees, he come up on a bully. Certainly we know who that one was, the bully was. And then we just mentioned Saul in Acts chapter 9. I'll just say a couple words about Saul and then we'll close. But Saul was called Paul later on. In Acts chapter 9, he wrote letters just like Jezebel did to Damascus and wanted to know if he could kill a certain amount of Christians. And the Lord struck him down. And a light shined, and he said, "Who art thou, Lord?" He said, "I'm Jesus, who thou kickest against the prick." And so he was. There's a lot of different ones, but you just think about this. I thought about, am I a bully sometimes? Yes, I am. The Bible tells us about these bullies, even though it doesn't mention the word, but bullies come in all sorts of people. You can have children, like Opie went across, that's a bully. You can have teachers, like myself and some of y'all, can be a bully. You can have preachers that are bullies. You got to be careful and watch out for bullies. And if you do run up on a bully, you got something to fight with, that armor of God. Just like David fought that giant. That giant didn't mean nothing to him. He stood against that giant. So I pray that we won't be bullies, but we'll be good Christians. But they dismiss.